Prachi Pratap and welcome to my podcast. Today we will discuss the importance of disconnecting in a digital work environment. Many of us will successfully complete 2 years of operating in hybrid work environment where most of us have been part of work from home model. There has been an increasing debate around whether there should be stringent legal framework for employees working from home. Countries like Portugal have passed laws which refrains employers to contact staff out of working hours. Laws related to employers not tracking the tele-employee working online are getting in place. Debate is also on whether the employer should contribute towards electricity, home internet and gas. In India, the government is mulling over possibilities of remote working laws focused on working from home. That right to disconnect is a proposed human right. The member of the European Parliament proposed to consider right to disconnect as a fundamental right that allows workers to refrain from engaging in work-related tasks such as phone calls, emails, and other digital communication outside of working hours. The MEPs propose a law that enables those who work digitally to disconnect outside their working hours. What is right to disconnect? It is a basic need for downtime after work. Just because you're working from home through a device doesn't mean you have to be remote controlled. Be accountable 24/7 and that you must be accessible round the clock. Digital work environment has increased pressure on individuals and in turn affecting the mental well-being of employees. In some countries, people are allowed mental health day off. While this is important, but for now, it's need of the are to compartmentalize work life when working from home. Fluid work-life boundaries create immense work-life imbalance. The always-on culture is described as the work mode where we are constantly connected to the internet. A report by Aviva records that almost half of employees surveyed, which was 44%, say they feel like they never fully switch off from work. The inability to switch is most severe among young adults between 18 to 24 years old, with 63% stating that they regularly check emails outside of working hours. Do you feel you are unable to switch off from work? Have you felt the need to check your WhatsApp, emails, messages on social media, which may be directly or indirectly related to your work? My family has often complained to me about replying to work messages in late evening, which has made me look consciously at my by default setting and change it. If you look at this behavior, you will realize why the work hours have increased for most of us. Because we voluntarily stay connected and have become subconscious slaves to our digital environment and our digital workplaces. In November 2020, a report by the Economist stated that people are working longer hours during the pandemic. It is observed that on average, working hours in countries have increased by 30 minutes. Even though time was saved on commute, the work time increased. The always-on culture may increase time, but is it directly related to increase in productivity? Do more hours means more work is finished? Adam Grant had suggested people would get more done in 6 focused hours than 8 unfocused. Moore's documentary, Where to Invade Next, he found that America and Finland were ranked very low on the global scale for primary education. Suddenly, Finland shot up to number 1. Moore had to know why, so he and his crew went to Finland to find out. After interviewing school administrators and educators, what he discovered was that by eliminating homework, increasing playtime, and the fact that school should be about finding a way to learn what makes you happy, is the reason why Finland became number one in primary education. The correlation here is that excessive workload increases stress, which decreases productivity. NordVPN teams, which work with more than 10,000 companies, look at the amount of data being sent via servers to calculate employees' working hours. It noticed a 2.5-hour increase in the average working day in several countries. Wilegoose, a firm that offers virtual team building experiences for businesses, found that 55% of UK employees say they have been expected to work outside their regular hours while working from home, and 74% have suffered fatigue, stress, or burnout during the pandemic. A survey conducted by Wakefield Research for email platform Superhuman found more than one-third of office workers said this email fatigue is likely to push them to quit their jobs. Half of remote workers spend their own money on tools to help manage their productivity, and another 17% plan to do so in future. Rahul Vora, the CEO of Superhuman, concludes that the data is clear. The global shift to remote work has led to a significant rise in digital communications, and it's causing employees to feel fatigued and burnt out. All these surveys indicate that though employees may technically be able to sign off at normal hours, the problem with an always-on culture is that work never really stops. And the problem has gotten even worse over the last year. The average employee working remotely during the pandemic clocks an extra 2.5 hours work per day, the research has found. In evening, when you finally find your me time, suddenly the phone beeps with a work message asking you to finish something that either has a send ASAP deadline or turn in it first thing in the morning. This is an example of always on culture where we are always available to work. The need to stay connected is not voluntary, but out of fear of losing your edge or absolutely losing your job. Accountability post working hours is important in many workplaces now. It has only heightened during pandemic when employers feel that since you are working from home, you are 24/7 available to work. Work and personal life boundaries are more fluid now than ever before. Also, expectations and commitments at both ends have increased. France was the forerunner in introducing digital disconnectedness as a right. In 2013, France encouraged businesses to avoid any intrusion on employees' private lives by defining periods when devices should be switched off. This right was made law on 8 August 2016 and is now regulated by Article L 2242/17 of the Labour Code. In January 2017, France passed a new employment law allowing the workers in organizations with more than 50 employees to negotiate the conditions of a right to disconnect from work after the working hours. This was done by the initiative of the Labour Minister Miriam El Khomri in the Article 55 under Chapter 2, adopting the labour law to the digital age. This was under the Labour Code and was introduced by the aims to protect the workers against the problems associated with the increasing use of digital technology in the workplace. Soon after, Italy, Spain and Ireland also followed the example of France, and this year, Portugal followed suit. It is imperative to eventually include right to disconnect as a basic human right. As workplaces have become digital, being tied down to a device for performance is not humane. Right to disconnect protects the workers' interest by reducing burnout. An always-on culture has adverse effect on mental and physical well-being of staff, especially when working from home. New laws need to be formulated to demarcate work time when working from home. The need to identify employee benefits of working from home, to have stringent industry regulation when employees are working from home through digital workplace. as Pfizer recently issued a statement regarding pandemic ending in 2024. Do you feel we need some laws in place for working from home in order to create work-life balance? Do let me know your thoughts.